Hi, welcome back for another video. Who is Lieutenant-Colonel Mamady Doumbouya, Guinea's new strongman? Former French legionnaire, Colonel Doumbouya was close to Alpha Condé. He has just overthrown the regime whose security he was supposed to provide. The country's new strongman has just promised a government of national unity and a peaceful transition. Who is this man of meteoric rise? Marshal Idriss Déby of Chad had advised Alpha Condé to create a special force in order to ward off possible terrorist threats on his territory. The former Guinean head of state will indeed follow the advice of Idriss Déby. He will set up this new unit responsible for protecting the regime. The command of this force will be entrusted in 2018 to a man, Lieutenant-Colonel Mamady Doumbouya, one of his trusted military leaders. The Guinean officer's career inspires confidence. Trained by the French, the man is seen as having a solid military background behind him. The first part of his career, Mamady Doumbouya carried out within the Foreign Legion in France. He was then Master Corporal within this elite corps of the French army. He then took part as a good legionnaire in several external military operations in Afghanistan, Ivory Coast, and the Central African Republic. And like many legionaries, he also passes through the French forces stationed in Djibouti. The man marries a Frenchwoman, a gendarme. He is the father of 3 children. The man is originally from Concon, in the east of the country, and belonging to the Malinké group. Like Alpha Condé, Mamady Doumbouya quickly established himself as an important part of his military strategy. Between 2012 and 2013, he was sent to the Infantry Application School in Tis, Senegal, to attend the training course for future unit commanders. On his return to Guinea, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. From then on, this colossus with the physique of a high-level athlete began a real ballet of training, which led him in particular to the International Security Academy in Israel, or to the Staff School in Libreville, Gabon. And in 2017 to 2018, he joined the 25th promotion of the French War School. As many officers of his generation, he is a soldier who went through very eclectic training, says Emmanuel Dupuy, president of IPSE, the Institute for Perspective and Security in Europe. But above all, during a conference organized in November 2017, in Paris, by EMSOM, the Specialized Staff for Overseas and Foreign Affairs, Mamady Doumbouya, who then represented all the African trainees, will make a very noticed speech. Referring to the propensity of African leaders to privilege Westerners, for example, to the detriment of the children of the continent, he declares, "White people hold a power that is inaccessible to us." For example, last year I asked for ammunition to train my troops in marksmanship, but never received it because my leadership feared that I would use it to provoke a coup. On the other hand, the French who will come to provide training for us will immediately receive everything they need from our government. During this same conference, if Mamady Doumbouya welcomes the cooperation with France, for example, and the support enjoyed by the African armies, he nevertheless denounces the arrogance and prejudices of some of their brothers in arms. To this end, he specifies that white officers have one major flaw: most of the time, they underestimate the human and intellectual capacities of Africans, which is particularly irritating since African and French officers come from the same schools, including the School of War. But once they arrive in Africa, the French often think they are smarter and feel they have a better command of the subject than we do, which is rarely the case. We deplore their haughty attitude. We are not as incompetent as they think. On his return to Guinea in 2018, Mamady Doumbouya was not only promoted to lieutenant colonel, but was also entrusted with the creation and management of the Special Forces Battalion. That year, he participated in a training organized in Burkina Faso by the U.S. military and reserved in particular for commanders of special forces in the region. It was on this occasion that Lieutenant-Colonel Mamady Doumbouya and the current leader of the Malian junta, Colonel Assimi Goïta, became friends, says Mamadou Ali Oberi, director of the Analysis Center and Strategic Studies of Guinea. Also in 2018, on the occasion of the country's national holiday, the Guinean populations were amazed to discover the Special Forces Battalion, headed by Lieutenant-Colonel Mamady Doumbouya, during the military parade at the September 28 stadium. A little more than a year later, the protest born of President Alpha Condé's desire to modify the constitution in order to run for a third consecutive term, prompted him to deviate the special forces from their original missions. In principle, says Mamadou Ali Oberi, this unit was responsible for combating terrorism and acts of maritime piracy. Unfortunately, Alpha Condé then turned it into an instrument of repression of political protests. This is what happened in Conakry during the electoral process last year. Hooded men from special forces entered neighborhoods to quell protests. Despite this apparent loyalty of Lieutenant-Colonel Mamady Doumbouya to President Alpha Condé, dissension reportedly arose between the two men after Colonel Assimi Goïta came to power in Mali. Within the regime, personalities such as Mohamed Diane, the Minister of Defense, also do not hide their fears vis-à-vis this all-powerful commander of the special forces. At the time the putsch took place, says Emmanuel Dupuy, it must be borne in mind that President Alpha Condé feared a military coup. He was also credited with the intention of getting rid of Mamadou Doumbouya. This is probably the reason he took up arms before his fate was sealed.